Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Springs Municipal Advisory Council meeting on October 11th, and we are starting at 6:35. Si alguien necesita de interpretación en español, hay audífonos disponibles en la mesa al lado de la puerta. Vice Chair Hardiman, can you take roll, please?
Councilmember Alcaraz. Here. Councilmember Allen.
Here.
Councilmember Lombard.
Here.
Councilmember Winders.
Here.
Councilmember Reyes, not here. Vice Chair Hardiman here, and Chair Atturi.
Here, thank you. So this meeting is broadcast on Facebook, and we do have the opportunity to participate on Zoom, but we sometimes we encounter technical difficulties, so we just appreciate your patience with that. As you can, we've got a lot of pieces moving here, and Karina, thank you for making all that happen and making this meeting so accessible. I'd like to thank KSVY for their broadcasting and tech support, Lynn Marie always for taking notes, SVUSD for the facility, and our interpreters, Carlos and Julie, and the D1 team from the county, always super helpful. And to all the volunteers on this council who do this for the love of their community, thank you all. Okay, we have approval of the minutes. Is there approval of the minutes from September 13th? Any edits or corrections we need to make?
I motion to approve.
Is there a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Not yet. I was wanted to ask Karina if we can make an amendment.
Okay, thank you.
If it's not too late. If it's not too late, maybe it is. The letter that public infrastructure presented us, it's already sent, right? No way we can amend it. Okay, thank you.
Do we need to do that motion again?
I wanted to see if we can amend it, but it's already sent, so we cannot amend it. So
Okay,
never mind. We can approve the.
do we need to do the motion again? Okay, Joe, could you do that motion again?
I motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Item 2 closes. Public comment, any items not appearing on agenda. This is again for items not appearing on the agenda. We will look at anyone here in the audience, then we'll go to the Zoom room and see if there's anyone who'd like to participate. I will give you plenty of time to think about that. We have 2 hands in the Zoom waiting room. Anyone here, public comment? We'll take in-person public comment first, and then we'll move to our online comment. If you could state your name and spell it for the public record if need be, and if you could address your comments to the council, and you have 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. Randy
Wait,
Roberts.
hold on one second.
Mr. Roberts,
ahead.
when you see the timer on the screen.
Oh, okay,
Okay, give me a sec.
sure. Should I start now?
Yeah, go
Okay.
right ahead, Mr. Roberts. Thank you.
Randy Roberts, El Verano. I live on Railroad. That is important because that's what this is about. I noticed in the IT this last week that they have done a study on East Napa on speed limits. And since I have to walk my son to school back and forth across the railroad, I have noticed that there are a lot of people, and I've even noticed the CHP stopping them for high speeds on Railroad Avenue. And I'm wondering if we could do anything to get a speed test on Railroad Avenue to see if something really needs to get done. I would say that there are a lot of really respectable people that'll even stop for me in mid-block and allow me to walk across the street. So I'm not condemning everybody. I'm just saying there are some, and there are some who have very loud vehicles that race their engines as well. And maybe it's not needed, but I'd hate to have to go to somebody getting hit before we decide that maybe it is needed. And maybe we can put it out for feelers in the community. I don't know how you work on that. But I've lived there for 20 years. And this is not something that's just happened. I've noticed speeders before.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Anyone else in the audience? Yeah, absolutely. If you please.
Comment?
Yes, please.
I live on Jim Scriven. I live on Cherry Avenue. And I've actually noticed that same thing, plus people making a stop sign at stop signs, meaning they don't really stop. Yeah. Speeding and loud mufflers, show of speed.
Thank you. Karina, do you want to promote the? Thank you.
For members of the audience that are watching on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature to make a comment. You will have 3 minutes when you see it on the screen. We're going to go with Elena Garay and then Josette when you see the timer on your screen. Begin your comment.
Hi, my name is Elena Garay. I was wondering, Karina, if you could put up the flyer that I had sent regarding the project for community policing. I'm not sure if you have it up or not. So my name is Elena Garay, and I'm currently a student, or I actually graduated, but I'm still working on this research project with Director Emily Asensio at Sonoma State University. This project is regarding community policing, and I was wanting to invite you all to participate in the project by joining into the listening sessions that will be hosted soon regarding your thoughts on community policing. If you are interested, please scan the QR code, or you can enter the URL that's on the bottom of the flyer to enroll or participate, or just to obtain more information regarding the project. I'm also going to say this in Spanish for any Spanish-speaking members as well. Hola, mi nombre es Elena Garay y soy un estudiante de investigadores de la Universidad Estatal de Sonoma en relación con el proyecto de vigilancia comunitaria. Quería invitarlos a todos a participar en el proyecto uniéndose a las sesiones de escucha que se organizarán pronto sobre sus opiniones sobre la policía comunitaria. Escanee el código QR o ingresa el código URL que se muestra en la pantalla para inscribirse y participar u obtener más información sobre el proyecto. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josette, you can begin your comment.
Oh, here we
Josette, can you?
Okay, sorry, I didn't see the thing. Okay, Joseph Broziker, Boys Hot Springs. I must say that I am happy to be able to Zoom tonight and hope for MAC meetings that it can continue. What has happened at Board of Supervisors meeting has really set back the ability for the public input on our most critical issues. I saw from the Board of Supervisors closed session on September 26th that the county was in negotiation to purchase the old Uncle Patty's parcel here in Boys Hot Springs. In corresponding with Supervisor Gorin, I found out that it is a potential real estate transaction to slightly expand the footprint of a community plaza. Should this come to pass, please count me in to be on an ad hoc committee for a Springs Plaza. Supervisor Gorin asked me to forward the data from the survey I took for a Springs Plaza in the past, and I did. Please keep in mind that I still have the survey template and could send it out again at a later date. It has been translated to Spanish, but I was unable to get any assistance in promoting outreach to the Spanish-speaking community. Maybe it could happen in the future. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment. Chair update. So I wanted to comment on road safety as well today. I was a principal at El Verano for many, many years and watched people speed down that road on Riverside Drive. People use it to cut through. They come down Verano Avenue, they take that turn and off they go. And I'd asked for many, many years for speed bumps on that street. So lo and behold, I opened up the paper today and they're putting speed bumps on East Napa Street. And the reason I was told that the speed bumps couldn't work in the El Verano area is that the community would be upset by them, that they make noise, all kinds of things. And the first sentence here says the neighbors couldn't be happier. So I just want to bring that forward, that when I see something that's inequitable, and again, we have lighted intersections and stop signs and all kinds of things happening within the city limits, and it's not happening in the Springs. It sends a pretty clear message to the community of the Springs. So that's my report for today. And I hope that we can do something about our roads in the Springs. And I know that there are lots of people working on it, but when I see things like that, it doesn't sit well with me. And in addition to that, we have vacancies on this council and we will be interviewing in the very near future. So thank you. And that's it for my chair update. Any comments from council? Iris?
I would like to say that I was cruising down Highway 12 near the Donald Gap the other day and saw a man in a wheelchair walker kind of thing trying to get around the oak tree that is at the very last street there on the going south. And he couldn't make it around with the traffic. It was, I could tell he certainly didn't feel safe. That was eye-opening.
Okay. Did you want to say something, Supervisor Gorin?
I'm waiting for the time for my report.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, great. Okay, we'll close the chair update and Supervisor Gorin.
Here I am.
There you are. Welcome.
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank everybody in this room and in this valley for their patience in enduring the traffic gridlock. And in retrospect, I hope you think back. Yeah, it was really aggravating if you're stuck in traffic going and coming, but it was less than 30 days and we should do a little happy dance that bridge at Hooker Creek is now going to survive for the next 100 years and we don't have to endure that. And the Caltrans has made some progress on the bridge on Sonoma Creek and it looks in pretty good shape. They were scheduled to take 2 years to complete the bridge and they now remove the K-rails and it looks like maybe that will be completed in less than 2 years. So we're not necessarily happy with Caltrans all the time, but we're glad that they're taking care of the bridge. And while we're talking about bridges, I've been working on the Donald Street Gap, as you know, and you've been working on the Donald Street Gap, as you know, for a decade or more. It's the last remaining piece from the redevelopment area. And I can't quite figure out why it was not addressed earlier, but it wasn't. So I remember when Ellen Conlon was here, one of the first MAC members, was on a tear, always a priority on the Donald Street Gap. And I don't blame her for exactly the reason that you talked about. It is unsafe for pedestrians. And long before I decided to run for supervisor, I was one of those pedestrians staying in Sonoma and walking across the bridge to get to the movie that has now closed. And I said, where are the sidewalks? Why is this happening? But the good news is Transportation Public Works, SoCoPi, has hired a consultant to redesign that intersection that will look at the entrance to the mobile home park, the entrance to Donald Street Gap, and trying to figure out how we can purchase some right of way to put in some sidewalks along that undeveloped hillside. But as we discussed, and Maite was walking across there with us, Caltrans, I said, please replace our bridge, Caltrans. And they said, no, they inspected it and the bridge was in pretty good shape. So they would not recommend that they replace the bridge. So we're looking at barriers, deflectors that don't deflect cars, but at least get the attention and create an element of safety for walking across the bridge until we can design sidewalks, bridges that would hang off of the bridge over that creek to give pedestrians and cyclists. Not easy. If you walk across there, a lot of vegetation, mobile homes are really close to that entrance. So we can't widen the bridge. So we're looking at alternatives and we're looking at ways to redesign the entrance to provide sidewalks and retaining walls. Caltrans is working on providing sidewalks for the first part of it to Hanley Street, I believe, right by the assisted living center there. And then we are looking at yes, if we can ever make that happen, the lighted crosswalk on the other side of the bridge, because we know many folks at Homeless Action Sonoma want to walk across Highway 12. We want them to be safe. So we're looking at multiple different pieces of pedestrian and cyclist safety. None of it is easy. All of it is expensive, and all of it involves multi-jurisdictional challenges, but we're making some progress and moving through that. Mr. Scriven, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for being here. I have your letter on my desk and I was going to pen you because you didn't put an email address. I was going to pen you a response. Mr. Scriven was really wonderful in writing a letter to me concerning, he said, great, thanks for the pavement, but I'm concerned about water pooling on the street because you, like many others, like to walk. I wish we did have the capacity to just put gradual crowns on all of the roads, and probably isn't going to happen. And invest in a pair of, those old fashioned rubbers or hiking boots. And so that would be good to keep you safe walking in the rain with your reflective clothes. But he also asked for stop signs at a couple of those roads connecting to Cherry Street. And I met my match, I must say. I don't know how the city of Sonoma gets away with stop signs and speed tables, not speed bumps. They're different. And cars navigate a speed table easier, but unless you actually slow down, it makes a noise. And in Santa Rosa, we've had neighbors complaining about the speed bumps, speed tables all over the place. It's easier to construct speed tables in a city than it is in the county. I've worked with SoCoPi on speed tables on Gregor Street because of all the cut through traffic. And we're willing to put speed bumps. We have plastic speed bumps that we can put on a street just to test it out. So if you have a street that you want to recommend, I would encourage you to invite SoCoPi down here and to talk about your interest in why does Sonoma, city of Sonoma, get stop signs and speed tables when the county cannot? And county council had to pull me aside and say, and CHP did as well. If you put a stop sign on a road, at that time we spent a lot of time working on a stop sign on Agua Caliente. And if you put a stop sign there and CHP cannot enforce it unless you have warrants that actually support putting a stop sign there. So I would encourage you to talk with the experts, but CHP told me that, the county legal told me that, and yet I know that at some point we will have stop signs on Agua Caliente with the development proposed to happen at the Hanna Center. I wish it were easier. Nothing is easier in my world, but I think it's a good request to have. How do we slow down traffic and get signed up for a traffic trailer on those roads? Those are the two roads, you're absolutely right, that we hear over and over again about speeding traffic, Riverside and Railroad and Cherry, going up and down. Exactly. So they're looking for the cut throughs. And Mr. Scriven, I've been working with one resident on Cherry Street from 8 years ago to get that road paved. So anybody who's frustrated with their road not being paved, I would say, talk to us, have patience, and we will make it happen eventually. And you're going to benefit from that. I wish we could pave a lot more roads. Now, to get on to my report, last night we held in-person Truth Act Forum. We are required to hold this once a year because we do have some relationship with ICE. And we had probably 10 to 15 people there commenting very respectfully with us, very passionately, very concerned about their fear regarding deportation and the relationship of the sheriff cooperating with ICE. The statistics are not great in that there are not many folks who are released from jail who are picked up by ICE, but there are some. And I think the supervisors will schedule a conversation sometime next year regarding our interest in eliminating cooperation with ICE in the future. So we could pass an ordinance about that. And I think you'll hear more about that. There are some pros and cons for sure. But it was a very, for the most part, respectful conversation. We did have to ask several individuals, Spanish and English, to stop because they were veering off topic and becoming disrespectful. And it is a challenge. You're right, Josette. I'm one of the folks who continues to advocate for Zooms at the board meeting to enable you to comment to the board, and we can't do it yet. And we have public entities eliminating Zoom comments up and down the state because we are being targeted. Let's see if there's anything else. We are moving forward with a mobile home rent stabilization ordinance update. It's our legal department is working with legal aid. It is coming forward in the next month or two. I was shocked to discover that unincorporated Sonoma County has 67 mobile home parks in the county. That's just the unincorporated areas. And I know that we have many in Sonoma Valley. So we're behind the times. I advocated for this to happen previously. And finally, we have enough of the supervisors reviewing a lot of different action steps that we could take to help our struggling residents with evictions, rent stabilization, financial assistance to keep them in their homes. And so we're working through that list, but this rose to the top because we know that mobile homes are the places that all ages, but especially seniors, own, control, and are fearful of losing their mobile homes. I would encourage you also to invite the Director of Human Services and the Director of Health Services down to talk with you about what is happening both in Sonoma Valley. We're about ready to move into our East Sonoma County Services Center at the end of October, and we will have an open house in November, hopefully. I welcome the community in to meet with some of the folks who are staffing that facility. I expect the services offered will expand. I was disappointed we didn't have enough people here that night to hear from the community, but we will get there. I have confidence. But there are some incredible things happening at Los Gulicos, the campus of Los Gulicos. We're having a transition from the pallet shelter homes to the rehabilitation of the dorms of the former juvenile hall. Much better facility eventually at some great cost. But we also are moving forward, and the board gave approval for a short-term residential treatment program to occupy half of the Valley of the Moon Children's Center. And this is a residential treatment program for youth that are really struggling in foster care, that really need intensive therapy and behavioral management, as well as substance abuse. And so we're making good use of a beautiful facility that is being underutilized. On the same campus, Health Services received an $18 million grant to construct from the ground up a locked youth psychiatric treatment center. Half of it is 6 beds for our youth that really need intensive psychiatric help, and the other half is an outpatient facility for youth. So we are fortunate that in Sonoma Valley, we will be having these services available to us. Probably not enough beds to meet the need, but it is a step in the right direction. And finally, yes, Josette Icar did contact me. The closed session was on the agenda. We are negotiating with a couple of property owners to slightly expand the footprint of a future Springs Community Plaza. And we are moving forward with phase 1 environmental to figure out what's underground, utility lines. And I'm not sure what else is underground, but we will have a community meeting at some point once we finalize some of the negotiations for that site. So I'm excited about it, but anything in government requires patience. And I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Supervisor Gorin. Are there any comments from the council? Jack.
Hello, good evening. Going back to the Donald Street Gap issue, one thing that I noticed, maybe it was 2 years ago, I can't remember exactly, time's a funny thing, but I've never felt safer on Donald Street than when they were doing roadworks and had temporary, those plastic road dividers. Those were great. It meant people slowed down. It meant that you could walk there and there was very little to no chance of getting stricken. Is there any scope to bring something like that back in the interim? There's probably some codes and rules and regulations around it that I am not aware of, but they did work.
And be a little bit more specific about the plastic. Are you talking about the deflectors which stand up on our reflective? No.
I think he's talking-
No, they're the kind of things you see like.
They're like the K-rail, right? They're the.
Yeah, I don't know what
we're
the
using them for when they had outdoor seating.
yeah
I don't know why they call them K-rails, because they don't look like Ks, but nevertheless, they are a barrier with little flanges on the bottom.
yeah, and they're
They're-
chunky.
They're concrete and unforgiving. And
yes.
so, but I think that's a good question to have for Janice or Johannes to come on down and answer a lot of your questions and really hear from you about what you would like to see investigated to slow traffic down, to make people safer on Highway 12 while the work is being completed, because it will take a while. I think all of those, and the speed trailers. So all of those are valid.
I have a question.
Okay, Jesus, sorry.
Yes, regarding the mobile home parks. You say there are only 67 mobile home parks in unincorporated areas in Sonoma County.
Yeah,
But, well.
there are
thinking of-
more in the cities, but this is the unincorporated areas.
Yeah, well, the thing is that a lot of people in this area are very upset that development is being thoughts of developments are being in the process of new residential homes, because they say that we don't have a space and we already are in an incorporated area. And I just think back, I think back about my father who didn't speak Spanish, English, didn't know what was going on in Sonoma politics or anything. But then I remember correctly, one day he told me, oh, I think I remember the government want to develop this space, which is on 5th Street West at the end on Leveroni, the big chunk of land next to the mobile homes that is just empty since
Yeah.
forever and ever. And I think that they say, oh, they just didn't want to build anything there. And I just think that, and I know that the city of Sonoma says that they don't have water or something, and I don't know what is going on there, but they don't want to build anything. I think that that is important that cities build where they have land space so that we can decongest this area.
There are opportunities coming up, and that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. I know there's been a lot of concern about the housing element, the approval of the housing element, the density that was proposed in the housing element, as well as the builder's remedy and the two projects that have been moving forward, the Hannah project and the SDC project. It's premature to even think about reviewing those developments because there are no projects yet. The Permit Sonoma is in discussions with the developers, and they have a period of 6 months to provide some comments and then receive a project coming back. So we have time. But I would like to propose, and I've been talking with my team members about choosing a January that we would have the two MACs as well as the CAC coming together to review the housing element that was approved and hopefully will be certified by the state by that point. What the builder's remedies mean, the process for what the county is facing in a lot of different areas, not just these, and an update of the two general plans that are coming forward. And that is the City of Sonoma General Plan, as well as the County of Sonoma General Plan. The city is going to take a shorter amount of time to update. The county has taken 7 years in the past to review the previous update, way beyond my term as supervisor. But it's a good introduction to what a general plan is and the opportunities to address areas that you just described. Is that area in the city of Sonoma? Is it in the county? Should we consider rezoning that land so that a developer or an owner could come in and build housing there, either in lower density or higher density? And so that's an opportunity that everybody will want to participate in. And especially this Municipal Advisory Council, as well as the North Sonoma Valley MAC and the CAC. But the reason why it's challenging is you all met regarding the SDC project virtually. We can't do that anymore. So you have to meet physically in person. And that means would not be in this room, but we would have to rent an auditorium, have a microphone set up, arrange for KSVY to record it, and it involves some expense. So we don't plan these kind of meetings lightly. And so we'll check in with you on available dates and to figure out the most appropriate time to answer your questions and the community questions on all of those three items. But I appreciate the question that you raised. And that question is raised by so many folks who are desperate for new housing in Sonoma Valley.
Any other comments? Any public comment? Mr. Roberts? Can you, Mr.
Wanna
Roberts,
come
can
up
you
to the
come up to
microphone,
the
Randy?
podium? Thank you.
Hi, Randy Roberts, El Verano again. I just wanted to respond to Jesus. I think the property you're referring to is the property that slightly borders Leveroni Avenue. Is that what you're talking about on Fifth Street West? It goes down Fifth Street West beyond the trailer home parks.
that
Yeah,
one.
that, my understanding is that the hospital tried to buy that land. And that belongs to Leveronis and they are not interested in selling. So I don't know if the county could force them. We do have other lands. And my suggestion has always been, we can put affordable housing in industrial areas. And we have industrial areas that would not be blighted by affordable housing in Sonoma, including county areas. So that might be an area for you to look at.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just a comment, I've always been a supporter of placing housing where there's jobs, but the challenge with 8th Street East, the only industrial area, much of it lacks water and sewer. You cannot put affordable housing in an area that lacks municipal services.
Pardon me? Is there anyone in the Zoom? No, no one. Okay. All right. We will.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll
And,
close public comments.
Thank you for everything that you do. And I just want to note that this is a hard week. You know, the devastation and the horror and the terror that we are witnessing around the world is mind numbing. The exodus from Central America into the United States is just so difficult for us to understand. And we have our own issues that that are really troubling, and the hate speech that's happening. Give yourself a time for healing, for walking, for working with families, and to find the comfort and the peace that you need. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor Gorin. All right. We have our friends from Sonoma County Library. This is an informational presentation from the Sonoma County Library about the Bibliobus services and the potential opportunities that might affect the Springs. We have Barbara Mays and Erica Tabo.
Yeah.
Yes. Here to talk to us about the services. Thank you both for being here.
All right, thank you for having us. And I want to thank Supervisor Gorin and her staff for coordinating our attendance here, as well as our future meeting in Glen Ellen. So the Sonoma County Library has been expanding its services, and this is partly due to our reimagining plan, which we debuted in 2021. And one of the key components of that plan is increasing access to our programs, services, and collections. We also, had a sales tax measure that was passed in 2016 by the voters that gave us the funds that we need to do all of that. And one of the things that we are bringing to you tonight is the Bibliobus, and I'm going to have my colleague Barbara Mays talk about that. But this is really an expansion of our services around the county. We recognize that unincorporated areas of the county are underserved and that many locations are not near a library. So our Bibliobus is our mobile library vehicle. We have in our next year's budget, we're actually going to be looking at purchasing a second vehicle. So, we're happy to get any feedback, after Barbara does her presentation about how we can improve this service. So I'm going to introduce Barbara Mays. She's our Public Service Division Manager who oversees the Bibliobus. Thank you.
Hello, council members. Can you hear me? Okay, again, I'm Barbara Mays, one of the Public Services Division Managers for Sonoma County Library. I oversee the Bibliobus, but I also oversee the Sonoma Valley Library. I'm sure some of you are familiar with Sabine, our branch manager for Sonoma Valley. I know one person that's over there. So it's a pleasure to come here and speak with you tonight. Also, our director didn't say so, but she did live in Sonoma Valley before. So when she moved here as with her start of as a deputy director and director of the library, she lived in Sonoma Valley herself. So I'm here to talk to you about the Bibliobus. I'm going to present to you the services that it does have, and then I would love to ask for feedback afterwards of what you all think would work well for your community or potential partners that we can communicate with in order to provide this service in some of the unincorporated Springs areas. So the first part of this is that, as it says, we are servicing Sonoma County, building community connections, and we have regular scheduled community stops. So on our website, we have a request form. We do have a request form, which I'll go over in the third slide, but we also have a printable version of our community stops. There are 26 of them, both in cities and in unincorporated areas. There was one stop in Sonoma at the Springs Village, and I will talk to you at the end about that, but we are looking to have more in this area. Previous to having community stops, which we just started this year, we had just events. So our bus goes out to all different types of events, parades, anything in order to, provide programming and collections and, sometimes fans and sunscreen and different fun things at events. So if you all ever have events and you would like to have the Bibliobus, you can go on our website and request it. And that's requestable by anyone in the community. So that right there is our stop schedule for our community stops. So we typically go to one stop once a month and sometimes 2 a month, dependent on the need and the request from the community that's requesting it. It'll be a first Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a second Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the dates are listed off to the side at a specific time. We usually are we're usually communicating with the areas that we want to be going to and providing service and seeing what areas they think would be good for their community and the times that they think would be most beneficial to get service. When they come on the bus, they can sign up for a library card. They can renew their library card. They can get one right then and there. You can get free printing on the library bus. We have a printer now. And if you go into our Sonoma Valley Library, you can get up to $5 of free printing a day. And you can also get some free printing on our bus as well. You can learn how to check out ebooks, e-audiobooks. You can check out English and Spanish books on our bus. You can check out state parks passes. We also have those on our bus. They can, our wonderful librarian can show you how to check out museum passes as well. And we can also provide STEAM activities or STEM activities for any youth when requested. Next slide. So you all already saw our up-to-date community schedule. We look at that every 6 months and we evaluate stops if they need more time at their stop or potentially less time or the stop needs to be switched. And we redo that consistently to try to make sure that we're serving people where they would like to be served and it's something that works for their community. As I also said, we do events. We do a lot of events. So we always love to come out, even if it's just farmers markets, anything like that. You can request the Bibliobus online. I brought these with me tonight. It has our website on it, how you can request. They're over there on the table. You can also go to just our website and type in Bibliobus and it should take you to the page. On that page, we have a service map, so you can see all the places that the Bibliobus goes for events and the community stops. And there's an FAQ. The FAQ talks about the size of the bus. If you're wondering, how big is the bus? Where do I need to find parking for it? It has all that information online about it. I will also tell you that our Bibliobus librarian is bilingual. So she is able to provide all the services that she goes out in English and Spanish. Although we are not yet providing holds, so people can't request and have something sent to them yet, we know it's wanted. We just started our community stop schedule this past year, so we definitely know that's wanted in some communities, and we're assessing how we can do that. But our bibliobus librarian is fabulous, and if she's going to stops and they're requesting certain types of materials, she can make sure to stock up the bus on those materials before she comes. Next slide. So this is an example of a flyer when she was going to Springs Village. She unfortunately stopped hearing back from them about the visits to go there. So that was our stop in Sonoma in our unincorporated area. I told you all a little bit about the bibliobus. If you have any questions, we can definitely answer those here. But I would absolutely love to have feedback about where you all could see service being beneficial to you in your community. And if there's any community partners or contacts you would like to give us in order to reach out to them more.
Whoops. Thank you for your service. Really appreciate it. Any comments from the council? Iris?
Hi, I looked at the schedule. I know you're supposed to return books in 3 weeks, and the schedule was more like 4 or 5 weeks out on the bibliobus. I know that there are no fines anymore, but you know, I was raised to bring my books back. The other thing is, I don't know how it's working out. I haven't used it. But I know that there's basically a vending machine at the library where you can pick up holds. And so would that, I mean, is that a thought for future places to locate? Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we're looking at, either the book lockers where you place a hold and you go and you retrieve it at the book locker. Another thing that we're looking at putting in are book vending kiosks, which are similar to vending machines, where instead of having, you know, candy or soda, we would have books. So we are looking at that. For both of those things, we do need an internet connection because it's connected to our library catalog. So right now we're actually in talks with the city of Cotati to put a book vending kiosk in their square area, but you know, making sure that we have that internet is the piece that we need. And we're working on a contract right now with a vendor who might be able to provide, you know, these products for us at a great discount. So if that's something that we can, you know, talk about, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Jesus.
Hi, yes. A question, but maybe not related to bibliobus. So I spend a lot of time in the library. I love the library. I sit down on the floor and just read. And I also read The Economist, and that you have, because it's just, you know, I go there to read it. And I was reading an article. I couldn't finish reading it, but it will say that unfortunately there is a lack of representation on kids' books. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah. So, well, I just want to bring that to your attention in case you didn't know, but that's
So-
good. Thank you.
Oh, I think I understand your comment. So we actually have our collection services department has a very ambitious and aggressive policy increasing the diversity of our collection. So that is actually one of the things that we're quite proud of, and we're very good at. We certainly have other areas in our library system where we can increase diversity, but the collections is one of the more robust areas. So if you have particular, you know, titles or authors, you know, we'd be more than happy to hear that, and any suggestions are always welcome.
Oh, well, it said that it was kids' books. Yeah, so that would be. But I don't
Specifically children's books.
Yeah, okay. I don't read kids' books, but if I was a kid, I would be reading them. I think they're very interesting
They are,
sometimes.
yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Joe.
More comment. I know you wanted suggestions. And I know I worked with the Boys and Girls Live in Town for basically 25 years. I know we've partnered before, but I would think that would be a great partnership. You know, they've got 100+ kids at multiple schools after school every day of the week. So just a good spot to meet the needs of a lot of youth in the valley.
Thank you.
I'm also wondering about the space that may eventually be the plaza, because there'd been talk about wanting that to be a library. And that might be a space that could be utilized for, there's a lot of foot traffic there. So that's just one of the things that comes to mind. It might be nice to associate books, plaza, place to, start to craft that image for people. Okay, we'll move to public comment. Did you have more to ask?
Well, just a last thing, I have my business cards on the table over there, so please feel free to take one and reach out about any suggestions that you might have. And then I also brought over some copies of this. It's a map of actually the county. This is new. And it has all of our resources in English and Spanish, so everything that the library offers itself. It looks like this. So it's Sonoma County. All of our buildings are represented. So Sonoma Valley Library is over here. And then also there's a lot of cities, towns, communities listed on here where the Bibliobus either does go or could go. And whenever you visit the Bibliobus, you can get a sticker and put it on your map to show that that's where you get library services. Or when you go to Sonoma Library and you're hanging out, you could get a sticker there as well to show that you're there. That's your library. That's where you get service.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind taking a seat, and then we'll see if there's any more public comment for you. Thank you.
Good evening, Mario Castillo, resident of the Springs, and actually I'm an active lab member. I'm the vice chair, so maybe it's worth mentioning that every library has an advisory board, and our library has one. I'm the vice chair, and actually our meetings are on Thursday. Are actually happen this coming Thursdays. They're open to the public. People can come and do public comment as well. And it's all related on programs and services that the public library can and should be offering. I've been a member for 2 years, and this is my second year. And actually, some of the things that I've been advocating for is is in fact related to the comment that Jesus just mentioned. It's in terms of diversity, access, especially because we do not have a library here in the incorporated area of the Springs. Well, I appreciate that we have the mobile library. I feel that there is a lot of the service to our community here in the Valley. In fact, I happen to do a Survey Monkey, and I have over 3,000 followers on Facebook. And unfortunately, I wish that they would do more of this. They don't have data and so I took it up on myself to actually do that data and to request information on how the library is actually servicing our community here in the Valley. And it was really surprising to find out, how little access our community, Latinx community has here in the Valley to the library. In fact, they have the Friends of the Library, and that board is not a diverse either. So they have a lot of money, but yet, there's no representation whatsoever in relation to the Latinx community. So a lot of work, like every other organization here in the Valley, very limited to include and actually actively engage our community here, community of color. So I'm glad that you guys are getting around, but there's definitely a lot of work to do. And somehow, we are always, sort of like the forgotten group here in this area. Services happen in Santa Rosa, services happen in the city of Sonoma, and somehow nothing happens here for us. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Anything in the Zoom? Okay. Thank you both very much for being here, and thank you for reaching out to the Springs. We appreciate it. Okay, Norms and expectations. So this is an item that we have been working on for a few months. I think we have another draft to review, and I think we're gonna work on the resolution tonight. Okay. Is there Joe and Celeste, right? Okay, thank you both.
And Jack, but yeah, I've got the draft. So I guess I'll read it all. We had it ahead of time. Do I need to read it all? We had it ahead of time. It's posted. People had a chance to read it.
Maybe just scroll down really quick and people should, I don't,
So it's the original piece we brought just about, and we've been really good about it. Staying true to the format, staying away from, bleeding into things that aren't actually on the agenda, which is good. And then below is a multi-pointed civility and rules of decorum at public meetings. We went through it as a group. I think it all looks good, makes sense. Anybody have any questions about it? Any comments, anything they want to change?
no, I think it's probably more important now than it has been in the past. I mean, with what we're seeing happen, so.
And I will say that Celeste in a very great way pushes to add a piece about hate speech in here. So that is also detailed and not just trying to fall under something else in there. So it's very clear and present.
Can you show that part?
It's right there.
Sorry.
While members of the public will refrain from any behavior that disrupts or threatens to disrupt county government operations, including any of the following.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then the insulting, demeaning, intimidating, or offensive communications, including hate speech and or behavior.
Thank you. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Joe and Celeste on this document?
And Jack.
And Jack, I'm sorry, Jack. I did not meet the silent partner.
We'll sit together.
Yeah. Jesus, Cyrus. Okay. Any public comment on our norms and expectations? Okay, it's a quiet group tonight.
It's the let's be nice to each other document,
Yeah.
even if we disagree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
that's
like at
really
the heart of it, it really comes down to we can disagree without being terrible,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
We want to hear from everyone and we want everyone's opinions. But yeah,
we just
be good people to
Yeah.
each other.
just be good to each other. Yeah, I think that should probably be the shortened version of it. Just be good to each other. Okay, is there a motion to,
Through the
Oh.
chair. I just want to make public that we did translate this document as
oh,
well.
thank you. That's awesome. And how will we use it in the future? Is it going to be that's what I guess one of my questions. How is this going to be communicated or?
we had talked about ensuring that we have it, when people come in so that people can see sort of like, and to help people understand too, like, this is how public meeting work. I mean, sometimes it's people's first time in a public meeting and they don't know how it works. So having it available, and then I'm assuming also on the county website. Am I missing anything? Those were the two that we had talked about.
It will be on the Spring Smack website.
Okay. Okay. And perhaps we can just point it out at the beginning of the meetings too. Just remind people to be good to each other. Okay.
Yes, but,
Jesus.
yes. Can we revision again? I just like to go over the actual public comment part, if we can go through it, please.
It was, oh, there it is.
I know we have it, but
This part?
Mm. Well, there is, I have a hard time reading it because I need my glasses.
Do you want, oh, there we go.
Uh,
Here, do you want to see this version on paper?
yeah, so I wanted to disagree respectfully with some members, council members on some something that I noticed in the past where members of the public will wanted to give their comment, but they were stopped because then the comment they were trying to say was later on a topic on the agenda. Sometimes I want to be mindful of these people that maybe the comment they are trying to say, and it's going to be in the agenda, but this item might be like at the very end of the agenda, and they might not want to stay all meeting. And I know that our meetings are very interesting, but sometimes they take long for to get there. So I just maybe wanted perhaps to revision if we can just like allow these people to say what they have to say, and obviously get the response at the end if they wish to wait. Or I don't know how to verbalize it, but I just want to be mindful of our attendees' time.
Thank you.
May I?
Yes.
So I completely understand. It's always been a bit of a frustration of mine in public meetings that when people have public comment that we can't respond and answer questions and have a conversation, right? And the problem is it really lies in, it's the Brown Act. So if we do that, what happens is it very easily turns, and it's happened a couple times in this meeting, we've had to catch ourselves, and there's been a couple times we didn't fully catch ourselves, where it veers off of the item that's on the agenda, or if it's a public comment about an item not on the agenda, and then it veers into a council discussion about something that wasn't agendized. And the reason that becomes a problem is then if we have a conversation about that, it wasn't posted publicly, and there may be people in the public who would have liked to have participated in that, who couldn't because they didn't know, because it happened spontaneously. So it kind of catches us in this crack, right? Where if we open that door up to start engaging in dialogue through public comment, we're opening the door to very easily potentially have a conversation about an item that's not on the agenda, and deny other members of the public the opportunity to participate, thus violating the Brown Act. So that's why it's in there. It's to keep us compliant with the Brown Act and to prevent that happening. That's not to say that a member of the public couldn't come and say, I'd like you to agendize this item. And then we could place that on our next meeting agenda. And then we could have a public dialogue, but we have to post it out to the public at large so that the whole public at large can participate.
Through the chair.
Karina.
And also a reminder to the public that email public comment can't be sent. So that's always an option. And reminder that there is an item for items not on the agenda as well. So there are other opportunities. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chair Turi, only when you open a public comment.
Oh,
don't
I
know if
haven't.
you're- Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Hold on a second. Are there any other comments from the council? Okay, public comment.
Mario Castillo, resident of the Springs. So if I remember correctly, I did make public comment during the discussion of this item before. And I believe that my thought on this is that there should be a balance. And I do hear Councilmember Alcaraz in terms of how do you guys make it accessible, meaning where where there is active participation from the public. And there's also a balance between how do you make it rigid to a point where it becomes literally inaccessible to people, and also processes. And this goes to Ms. Councilmember Ituri, where she is asked specifically the question in terms of how will this document be accessible to people so that people are able to understand it and how it functions and why it's in existence. And I think that that's part of the bureaucracy of government, that they make it literally impossible for people to access and understand how system works. And they literally take advantage of that. Complain that there is lack of participation from the public, yet they make it purposely to make everything so rigid, so bureaucratic that literally people lose interest. So if, I mean, think as you guys are having this discussion in terms of, why is it just so you guys can have be nice to each other, or is it really to be also nice to those constituents that you're supposed to represent and make this meeting accessible to? So just that. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with accessibility. I think that we do make things difficult for folks. We're also bound by the Brown Act, which at sometimes I go, I'm wondering what would happen. Does somebody come down and arrest us all for violating the Brown Act because it's used so frequent? It's a violation of the Brown Act. So I agree with what Jesus and Mario are suggesting. We do need to make this more accessible. I don't know how to do that, being bound by the rules that we are bound by. But I think it is something that we should take into consideration, and perhaps the outreach needs to happen in a different way outside of the MAC, because this is a very bureaucratic process that is not necessarily the friendliest to all community members. So.
Territory.
Yes.
I think one of the things too that I think we do as a MAC, I think a little bit better than maybe some other entities bound by the Brown Act I've observed have done, is we've been really good about getting community feedback and placing items on our agenda.
That's true.
For larger discussion so that we can have more dialogue. I think that we've done a good job of that, and we continue to try to do that outreach. And there have been community members who have placed items on our agenda who've come to us, and we've gotten out there. It is a sticky line. And to your point, like what would happen? Like, would they come get us? Right. The truth is there are a few members in the community, in particular in Sonoma County, who have been targeting people who sit on councils and council members and elected officials for even the smallest inadvertent, not on purpose Brown Act violation, and utilized that to effectively abuse them. And I want to be super upfront about it. It's a thing that's happening. It's part of some of the hate speech that has been coming in that has made us limit our ability in accessibility. I think that it really sucks, for lack of a better term, that we have had to, in this county, dial down accessibility to people because bigots want to use that and abuse that. And it harms the people who need it the most. And it creates a really difficult situation. And so the fact of the matter is there are a small handful of individuals, I'm very clear on who they are, who have been utilizing the Brown Act and weaponizing it and utilizing different factions of things that are meant to serve the public and meant to serve transparency and public engagement, and have unfortunately weaponized them against the people who are trying to do their best and do the work. So it's really tough because, again, at the end of the day, what happens is it ends up impacting the people who really need that accessibility the most, who didn't ask for any of that to happen. So I'm sad that we have to create a document like this because I'd like to
Me too.
believe that everybody could disagree, could have healthy debate, could request to put items on the agenda and we could do it, and that things would do that. But unfortunately, there is a very small handful of individuals out there who have decided that they would like to make this as inaccessible as possible for the people who need accessibility the most.
Yeah, thank you, Celeste. I think that that's what troubles me the most is that this is where we are. So, are there any other comments from the council? Iris?
There are two things. One, sometimes if we know or discern that a topic is going to be particularly a hot topic with the public, probably putting it earlier on the agenda
agree.
would be good. The other thing is, I'm wondering if Mario, to speak to Mario's, I mean, it's a 3-page document. Is it possible to do a Cliff Note version? And then have a more complete document if we need to, point out the error of someone's ways. Thank you.
Yeah, both good suggestions. Thanks. I think we should have, when we know that there are items, transportation and housing, when those come up, that we put them up front would be important. We'll see if we can get a executive summary of our norms.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Just suggestion and just to piggyback on outreach opportunities. Just a reminder that yes, you are governed by the Brown Act, but you do have liberties to promote any document or event stuff that you're working on projects. I know that you guys are limited on time with all your, outside of the MAC obligations, but you can use Facebook as a platform to promote this document and say, hey, go find this document on our website. You have upcoming events that you'll be at. So have a printed copy, laminated, or extra copies that you can hand out to the community if it's important to have the community be aware of this document. And you can always use our office to help with some of that promotion as well.
Thank you. Are we ready to move to a motion? Can I get a motion to adopt the norms and expectations document?
I move to adopt the norms and expectations document.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, we have one more item and then we'll take a break. Goals and calendar events. We have moved this one around a couple of times as well. I think we did the calendar of events, or do we need to update that?
I believe there was an update, but Councilmember Reyes is not here and she was one who requested that update. So you're talking about goals now.
Okay, so we'll skip the calendar part of this. All right. Are there any suggestions? We were talking, I mean, this item came up because this council tries to be everything to everyone and do everything because that's who we are. And there was talk about paring down some of the things that we try to take on, but then it goes back to that tension that I feel about the Springs is often unnoticed and left often behind in many things. And I'm wondering, so there's just I'm just calling out that I'm conflicted with this item because people often bring things to us that are important. And then if we get too rigid about what our goals are, are we able to not fold that work in? So that's a concern of mine. So I'm just curious about what the council thinks. Iris.
I was looking over the agenda for the North Valley MAC the last time it came out. And I believe that what I saw as their purpose was to promote the North Valley community. And I thought, wow, that's it. And it seems as though that's what the Springs MAC exists for. That's in a sense my goal. It is my goal. And if we look at it that way, then it does give us a really big canvas. But I don't think that's a bad thing.
Jesus.
I'm conflicted too, because when I hear the word promote, it just means to raise the voice up to something, but will that voice do anything? I feel like the Springs MAC has an amazing community, and we have been great doing projects around the community that are physical and we deliver things. And promote is, I mean, I might be misunderstanding the word, but the goal of the Springs MAC is to serve our community in whatever we can. Sometimes it's out of our reach to do that, and we need a lot of help. And I'm conflicted because I want to help our community members in what they really want to see change. And if we think that something that is good, it's 51% good, and the rest 49% think it's not, then it's 1% more positive than the other 49 people that disagree with it. I'm trying to make a point here that, but and I'm failing it. But my goal, my thing that the Springs MAC goal is to serve our community, and we shouldn't use the word promote because that is very limited.
Joe.
I agree with that. I don't think you failed your point. I think you kind of got it across. I feel like without stating goals, we've already taken on a few things, and I feel like can call them somewhat wins. I think it's been driven by the community and things we're hearing. We got really behind the Springs Plaza. We worked real hard as a full team, not just an ad hoc. I mean, it kind of fizzled. It's going to come back. That'll be a piece. I'll say the same thing about Verano Highway 12. We got really behind that. We brought Caltrans in multiple times. We pushed hard on that. I don't think there's anything wrong with stating some goals and continuing to move around that, but maybe having that piece live in some way on the agenda until we feel like there's resolution or we know we can't move forward. And I propose one of those things. I've heard multiple times now, the entire time I've been here, is that Donald Street gap. Like maybe that we just need a piece of that on every agenda, because things snowball. When you get things done, makes you feel good, gives some momentum, shows that although we don't technically have power, we're just a sounding board, that we can push things through. So I think of it more that way when I think about goals, is having something that we're pushing to accomplish, and maybe we take a step back and do something smaller, but have some wins instead of starting something up and then diverting all of our energy to something new that popped up and forgetting it. Because I do feel like we'll have so much more power and be able to make so much difference if we focus even a small part of what we do here once a month when we come together.
So kind of to your point, Joe, I think the three things that keep coming up for us are road safety, art, because we've tried to make some more public art opportunities, and then safety preparedness. Those seem to be the three things that we get some momentum on, and we've been able to move the ball forward. And I'm wondering if things that come up or people present things to us that maybe we don't take them on immediately, because I think that's my intuition is to immediately jump to it and to go try to fix that. And maybe it becomes something that we consider for a future item, or we're not trying, because we have, I think, 8 active ad hocs right now. And We
Yes,
got it.
100%, 100%. That's when I heard goals come up, that's what popped in my mind. And my thought was just, we could make so much more impact by narrowing our focus and working hard to achieve things than taking it all on, because we can't move the needle anywhere if our hands are full with tons of other things.
Iris.
Okay, two things, maybe three. We have moved the needle on, I am significantly impressed that things are happening at Verano and 12. That didn't come up every time, but it did come up consistently. So, and traffic safety, the Donald Gap, that does keep coming up. It doesn't come up every time. In some ways, there's no movement, it's not appropriate. The other thing is, by promoting, I didn't mean getting out and, you know, shaking our pom-poms and all that. It's not in my skill set anyway. But promote in the sense of putting the community, you know, in a sense forward, the needs of the community, and making sure that we keep that voice out there saying, hey, we're important, we're a great community, but we have things we need, and so we're going to keep talking about them.
Jack.
Yeah. So one thing I think is really important for everyone in this room and tuning in and living here to be cognizant of is your own personal like limitations. And that can mean many things, but the two things that we want to be very conscious about, I think, in anything that we're doing is one, no burnout. Don't keep your foot down. You will run out of gas, you will crash, and it will suck. Everybody does this at least once, sometimes less intensely than others, and you all know it feels horrible. So being very conscious of like using your energies and thoughts and all that stuff on fewer things to do, fewer things better, and not, I don't know, it's like trying to do too much with not enough like resources or energy or things like that, then turns everything into not the best that you can do. So I think it's like really important to like try and avoid that and just be like conscious of do more with less. I think maybe that's the way I'm summing it up. I have this conversation a lot with my employer, and it so far so good.
Celeste.
When I look at the work that, you know, we do, I think that we're a little bit different in the Springs than perhaps other areas, in that we represent a community that has significantly high needs in many significant areas that impact their ability to survive. You know, it's not so much that we're a council that's making recommendations and hearing the community, you know, on things that like would be nice, but they're actually things that are people's basic human needs and human rights to exist and to continue to be our neighbors. And so I look at the work that we do, and it is hard, because I think that we're all very caring people who love our community, and it is our instinct to jump in and be like, okay, let's like, not just like that we want to help with that sense of urgency, right? Because often the needs that get brought to us are urgent, you know, and when we delay or get caught and sometimes trapped in the bureaucracy of it all, people actually really do often suffer. And that's the reality of the community that we live in. And so I view often our role here in the MAC, it's because we're not a decision-making body. We are community members who live in the community. We are neighbors. We are part of this community, but we don't get to make decisions. So we don't actually like wield any magical power that I wish, because there's like so many things that I know that we would love to do for our community, but we advocate. and I've seen us advocate for housing. I've seen us advocate for equity. I've seen us advocate for transportation, for safety. I've seen us advocate for children. I've seen us advocate for our elders. I've seen us advocate for our immigrant neighbors and community members who have fear of, and that inhibits their ability to advocate for themselves for safety reasons. There's so many things that as a MAC, I think that we advocate for. We've written letters, a recommendation that includes some pretty courageous conversations in them and speaking some pretty powerful truths that often make some government entities uncomfortable with the things that we say because they need to be said. So I don't know what those words necessarily would look like in a one-line tagline, but what I do know is that this MAC has worked really hard and continues to work really hard to listen to the community and to advocate based upon that for our community's needs, even if it means having really uncomfortable conversations with, you know, people who do hold positions of power and make decisions. So I think that that's the work that we can continue to do, but I also know that we do need more people sitting up at this table. We've got some empty seats. Please join us because it is hard work. And I know that there's many of us, you know, myself included, there's certain things that have come before us that keep us up at night. Because they're very serious to us. Because if we don't advocate hard, it means that some of our neighbors aren't our neighbors anymore. And sometimes harm comes to them. And that's just a very real lived reality that we have here in the Springs that I think is a little different than some other areas who have a little more affluence and have more resources than we have. Also, gentrification is like a whole thing that is creeping to the Springs. And that is something that I think that we have to continue to advocate for our community and prevent. I like our colorful buildings. I don't want to get trapped in having to paint them all beige to meet some like weird, like HOA-esque thing, right? I like that I can sit in my yard and that my neighbors are having a live band in the backyard until 11:30 at night on a summer night. I think it's one of the reasons why I live here. It's awesome to lay in my hammock and listen to that because my house is hot and I don't have AC. So, you know, I mean, we have such colorful, beautiful community that I worry about the gentrification piece too and losing that. And so I think there's a lot of things that we advocate for, people as well as the culture that makes our community what it is. But we do have empty seats. Please join us.
Thank you, Celeste. Any other comments from council? Some of the things that I've heard people say are advocate. I mean, it kind of boils down to advocating for human rights. That's basically what we do. I think that's really a good thing for us to aspire to. It does mean that we probably take on more than we have the capacity to at times. And I think that's where we need to maybe slow things down before we jump to a new ad hoc or whatever the next shiny thing is. But there is an urgency attached to a lot of the work that we do as well. So I don't know that we're going to come to any kind of conclusion tonight on goals, but I just think that advocating for human rights seems to be a theme that is threaded through all the work that we do. And I think we need to hold that as our North Star. We'll take public comment. Mr. Castillo.
Mario Castillo, member of the Springs. So goals. Honestly, I think that your goals should be my goals and the community's goals. And it should not be a place where you guys hold a safe place for the supervisor that assign you to your position. So you should not be a gatekeeper for the public official. You should be always listening to the public. You should be doing actually study sessions on what are the public saying that you should be tackling and working on. I appreciate human rights issues that you guys are advocating for, but I think that that we have the Human Rights Commission for that. So I think that it should be focused on issues that are of concern of the Springs. And it really means that you're not elected, you were actually picked by our elected official, meaning that your goal is really to do the best that you can to represent those, to create a safe space for those of us, because our elected official, it's actually like pretty safe in their position. They were elected. So we actually need to do the extra advocacy for us to actually like hear our voice, hear our concerns, and represent us at the best of your ability. How that happens? Well, that's why we were talking about your norms and you know, way that people can come and approach you. So that everything is sort of connected, right? So when you're doing all these ad hocs, when you guys are doing all these community events, when you're picking and choosing which themes, actually those should be reflective of what the community actually is urgent of. And yeah, it means creating some challenging situations for the person that actually appoints you to your position, because at the end of the day, you're being that's sort of like mediator between us and the elected official. So I think that's, please do consider that when you're developing goals, do keep in mind that it's not your goals, it should be the goals that are urgent to our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Anything on the screen? Any final comments from the council?
Through the chair.
I can.
Jesus. And then Karina.
Hi. So, when I think of the Springs, and I think of human rights, and I think of the people that live in the Springs, and what is the Springs want? I advocate for the elderly, people with disabilities, housing, things that I've heard in the community that are important to them. And I think that having a house is a human right. Allowing people with disabilities have access to all of the public infrastructure or eliminate societal barriers for them to succeed in life, or the elderly, because one day we'll be old. So we are in a way, advocating for them. This is a human rights, humans' right to a housing, to have a decent life, and to have a good ending in life. That's a human right. The Springs, in a way, directly or indirectly, is trying to fight greed, trying to fight all of other sort of things that we are not perceiving directly or are not very, they're covert. So we're trying to fight that. And it comes all down to the same pattern or the same thing, is that we are advocating for the people of the Springs, and that's and their rights of existence, because at the end of the day, everybody's just trying to survive in life. If we don't put art in the Springs, how are we gonna inspire kids in their adult life to be decent human beings, to have creativity? So I represent people in the Springs that don't speak English well. A lot of people that live in the Springs are from where I'm from in Mexico. So sometimes I'm very naive and I don't say the words, and sometimes I don't find the right words for to say what I want to say. But I feel like if these people we're here. They make the same comments, naive comments, but they're their comments. And we should respect that. And I think that this is very ambiguous, our goals, because they're always ever changing. And at the end of the day, we should always just keep focus on striving and help just striving. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. Any other comments? Okay, we'll close item 8. We'll take a 7-minute break and be back to finish out the agenda. Thank you. Okay. I don't know that we have any more. Do we have another budget request coming forward? Is that you, Jesus?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yes, so I'm presenting this budget request form for the Dia de los Muertos, so Day of the Dead celebration, offerings, altars. We were if we approve this, if the funds will go to the Sonoma Valley Grange Hall. And basically what we want is have 2 altars, one in Larson's Park and another one on 22 Boyes Boulevard. So we are asking for an budget of $1,000, assuming half 500 will go for the Larson's Park, and then 500 for the 22 Boyes Boulevard. We asked Seth Dolinsky from the Sonoma Community Garden. He is that if he can be our contact person for this project. And last year we had 2 altars as well. And one of them, yeah, they were great and they were beautiful. And Seth Dolinsky organized an amazing event when he put up the altar, the offering, and I think if he would like to do the same, and I think it would be great if we can channel the resources to the Sonoma Valley Grange Hall for that.
So they would be our fiscal sponsor, the Grange Hall. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Are there any questions for Jesus?
Yeah, real quick, just is the 500 for each just for all the supplies, or is it paying people to put it together? Like what's the actual money being spent on?
Well, so we are asking Seth for a invoice of the what he was spending on. I'm assuming it's for obviously the equipment, but also for hours and time spent on putting up the altars.
Through the chair, just a quick correction.
Go ahead.
So this typically covers supplies and, if they need to build an altar or whatnot, and it's assumed that the labor is volunteer time. I think the only time someone was paid was Jesus Bravo when he built the altar the very, very first year that you guys did this project. Otherwise, it's just for the supplies. And I just want to throw in there that I have 2 beautiful decorative skulls that I want to donate to the Spring Smack for this project.
Do you know if, is Seth just charging us for materials?
I think that, yes, yes, I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's very, it's been very great on all their events that we have had partnered with them. So, I think that, yes, but I would like to assume that I'm not sure actually.
If we don't approve it today, it won't happen because we don't have another meeting before. Celeste,
I think that we can approve it with the specification that we approve this budget for materials and because we're going to receive an itemized,
Yeah.
we receive that anyway as part of the completion of the project. So
Okay.
I'm not particularly worried.
okay.
about it.
It sounds fair.
Through the
Whoa.
chair, if I may, I just want to clarify once more. When Jesus reached out to Seth to ask for sponsorship or fiscal sponsorship, Seth did reply, and I'm just sort of paraphrasing what he said, but he did say that the sponsorship would include items for the altar, including a wooden frame, shelves, lights, wire, and clips for folks to leave notes of photos, and lots of flowers, marigolds, corn, etc. Also hoping to have snacks for the altar building, coinciding with the open pumpkin patch at the park. So
Great.
again, this does not include labor. This
Okay.
is all supplies.
Awesome. Okay. Any
So, wait.
more, Jesus?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I really wanted to see Seth here because I really would like him to do both altars because I don't think that I'm not sure if he will be doing the altar in 22 Boys Boulevard, which is very more open to the public. And I just want to make sure that he's making that altar too before we approve.
That's
So-
something that you should have discussed with Seth, but unfortunately,
I didn't approve.
if you are looking for approval of the budget tonight, the condition needs to be that it has to be built at both altars, and if he's okay with that. If he can't comply with that, that's okay, then you only give him half of the amount. If he's only working on one altar, that would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah, if we don't approve it tonight, it's not going to happen. So we have to, and then with the condition of, once you find out if he's able to do both.
Through the chair, one more thing. There is an option. Jesus can reach out to Seth, pin down all the details, and you can have a special meeting specifically for this, but I don't know if that's something that your council is interested in.
No, we'll approve tonight. Thank you for that option.
I did ask him, but he wasn't very clear on it. So hopefully.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to approve this budget request? Oh, sorry. Yes. Is any public comment?
I'm not sure if I'm coming back, so I need to take advantage.
Okay.
So thank you, Jesus, for making this happen. Although I do have some concerns. Oftentimes, there are things that the MAC does, and this goes back to how things are optics and how things are presented and how people may interpret things, right? Like I oftentimes hear about, La Charla, and I oftentimes wonder, how is that even funded, or this situation of the altars? It's like, okay, so this is something that is approved by the MAC, but yet, there is not like an actual proposal that specifies, it details specifically on how the money is being invested and it's vetted and it's actually delivers and it's built into it, right? Oftentimes I see a lot of projects here in Boys Hot Spring, projects that just happen once and there is no continuation. There's not a sense of building into it, so that it actually becomes something that is sustainable by this community. So it really becomes kind of like a one-time thing, a way to kind of like celebrate once a year, and then that's that. But there's really not a continuation, not something, you know, that is kind of like attached to other things that are happening. So that concerns me all the time. So I oftentimes go like, we need to stop, you know, doing projects that there is no continuation, that there's no sustainability, that there's no purpose in making sure that the community actually owns them, values them, and fosters them as something that is here to stay. So while I very much appreciate the intentions and well needed, you know, we need a lot of culture here, and then we have so much potential here. I just don't see that. So I'm sorry, and thank you.
Thank you. Any public comment in the remaining people online? Okay. Is there a motion to move this budget request? Oh, is there any other comment from the council?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Just to Mario's point, the budget request form is what you're asking for. It details what the money is being used for. I don't know if the council wants Jesus to revise that and bring it back at a special meeting or in November, as we just stated are your options. But it specifies here what the project is and what it's being used for. And it's up to the council members to describe in detail what this money is being used for. And if the request is for an invoice, a detailed invoice to accompany this, then it's really up to the council to provide that. And any members of the community who have questions on how any project that comes out of Supervisor Gorin's office is funded, you're always welcome to come to our meetings and send an email or call our office. And thank you for reminding me about Charla. Charla is happening tomorrow from 6 to 7 via Zoom. So please connect. Thank you.
We do have an itemized list in the email that he sent.
It's not part of public record, but it can be if you request it right now.
Let's add that to the budget request. I think it's a good point. So we want to be transparent.
And I think it's still on topic, think that I don't think it'll take a lot of time, but I do think in our next meeting, we should spend maybe 5 minutes talking about this process. I've brought it up before. It does concern me that we just we want to do this and there's no actual explanation of where the money is going. And that's why I asked questions about that. Just coming from years of nonprofit, I'm very wary of blindly saying yes to money. I want to be good stewards of the county's money.
Absolutely. Maybe we need to revise the budget form to have a more detailed.
I think, I think let's come back to that later.
Yeah.
With that, I motion that we approve this for the full $1,000 as long as both altars are covered. If only one altar is covered, it will be for $500.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Iris, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Through
Um,
the chair, before you close the item, I just want to your point, Joe, your council has received a presentation on how to write budget request forms. It has also been sent via email to your council. So if it's something that you're interested in to have to revisit, we can schedule that for a future agenda item. You can also look at your emails and hopefully find it in there, but happy to provide any more assistance. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we just need to put on the form what the amount, like break out what the dollar amounts are. I think that would help clarify things for people.
And for the community's understanding, those budget request forms are forms that these council members, volunteer council members complete. It's not something that Supervisor Gorin completes at all. And this is something that this council publicly approves at their meetings. Thank you.
Okay. Nothing else on this item, right? Okay, closing item 9. Item 10.
Sorry, through the chair. There was going to be a second budget request form from Councilmember Reyes, who unfortunately is not here today. She did want to express that she did not hear any council support for the winter celebration. So she unfortunately is thinking of not having that event this year. And she's hoping that maybe a couple of you will step up and at the next meeting, you're able to say yes, and then she would bring that forward. Otherwise, your council is looking at not having your winter celebration.
I volunteer. I want to help my team.
Mari Carmen.
Mari Carmen. Sorry.
It's okay.
I wanna volunteer my team. Kidding. No. I want to volunteer to help Mari Carmen, and I want her to tell me what to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus. Okay. Can I close the item now?
Just again, she said, she asked for 2 and we do need at least a couple, but I leave that up
I'm
to you.
happy to help, but every time I say I'm going to do something, I'm told not to. So I'm in between a rock and a hard place. So I will help her. As long as it's not on a weekend, I have to be at school. So if that happens, I can't be there. Okay. I'm closing item 9 now. Okay. All right. Item 10. We do have some reports, which is amazingly awesome. Do we want to, where are we with Adopt a Road? Do we need more? Okay, thank you.
I think we're at the stage with Adopt a Road where we need a resolution on a proposed date. So I'm fine pushing that to November. That's the next month, to get like formal approval from the council on the date, which I believe January 15th was suggested, but we'll get to that in our next meeting.
January, okay. All right, we'll move this to item 2. The November. Okay, bicycle racks. We're coming close. We're getting to the finish line on this one. Okay. There've been a lot of people involved in this. Jesus moving them around. Artscape doing the work. County Transit providing us with the bicycles. So we placed 5 on locations that we all agreed upon. And they're all out there and all their glory, and there they are. On September 14th, we had a little celebration. So some of the things that I think, a couple of things that are super exciting that are happening as a result of this is you see the blue pole that's there. It's now, will tell you when the next bus comes. It's digital. And if you push the button, it will talk to you and tell you. So every time they're placing a bicycle rack, they're upgrading the bus stop. So that's been a very nice addition. And we also asked about shelters, bus shelters, and they are going to look into putting shelters at the bus stops because that's been a request from the community as well. So they're working on that as well. Joe, would you like to talk about this next bit?
Yeah, so another great thing that came with that is we've been offered an additional 5 bike racks. One big question is, of course, we want them decorated. It has been suggested, and I think it might be fun that we do it ourselves. There is material left over from Artscape. So that, maybe there's a Springs Mac bonding day where we decorate some bicycles. Just throwing it out there, just a thought. And then the other thing beyond that is, do we want to do the same process for the next 5 stops, or do y'all feel good about the ad hoc just choosing the next 5 spots that we put said bike racks?
One other little addition to this is that there are a lot of the businesses up and down the corridor have seen the bike racks and they're very excited about them. So if we can find bus stops that are close to businesses, they would utilize them.
They also said we could, if we wanted to, the current spots, as long as there's room, could have more than one bike rack.
So I have a question based on a comment that was I think it was vaguely mentioned at the ribbon cutting ceremony about, as of now, bus stops are the only location that will be approved, but there is potential scope to have bike racks in non-bus stop locations. I don't know if we've requested any information on what that could look like. It was an anecdotal comment. There was nothing serious, so I don't know how much weight that held.
I think more so it was, how close does it need to be to a bus stop to be next to a bus stop? But as far as it being totally independent of bus stops, that is not the impression that I got.
And we did ask that question and that's what we were told. So I think the two questions are, how do we want to handle the decorating of the 5 additional, do we want the 5 additional ones?
Right. Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. Do we want 5 more?
Do we want to decorate, how do we want to decorate them if we take them? And do you want to be a part of the decision making on where they're placed, or are you satisfied with the current ad hoc making those decisions? Iris?
My question is, if we have a bus, a bike decorating, bonding experience, do we violate the Brown Act that way?
We just can't
No.
talk about anything about the springs. I don't, yeah.
Yeah, don't talk.
We can argue about color and
Yeah.
concept,
yeah.
okay?
Through the chair, the way I see that happening is just a day where you have like a couple hours at a specific location where the bike racks are being stored, and you just invite community members in advance, show up, come help us cut paper and put it on a bike rack. You know, you all don't need to be there all at the same time. You can do shifts and whatnot. But even if you're all there for this specific event, you are not violating the Brown Act because you're also promoting it in advance, just like you've been attending any other public meeting or any public event. But thank you for the question.
So the first question is, are we interested in these?
I think realistically, yes, if there's space for them to go and it makes sense. Otherwise, it seems wasteful. Otherwise, like if we're not allowed to put them in at certain spots for an ADA requirements or things where they're like, you can't have 2 here. I think we should add more bus stops though, just to get around the rule, but that's just me.
Sorry. Oh, I would like to say if we can't get 5 additional different places, perhaps we would have to look at putting 2 in some places.
Through the chair, just a reminder that at the beginning of this project, you did work with Sonoma County Transit, and there are a lot of stops that were identified. There are a total of 16, so you've only occupied 5. Thank you.
So it sounds like we're interested. Now, the next question is, do you want to be involved in the decision making on where they go?
I think it's fair to say that I will trust the best judgment of the ad hoc, because they have worked far more closely to this than I have. So yeah, personally speaking, yes, we'll defer.
I would agree with that, especially because we've had extensive conversation already as a council about all the places people want them and don't want them. And I feel like the ad hoc's pretty clear.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like we're going to request the additional 5. We do need to decide on a potential date to put paper on them.
So the 3 things were, do you want the bikes? Do you want to be involved with the decision making for identifying the sites? And do you want to be involved with the wrapping or find a different? So I'm waiting on that one.
Yeah, that's the one I'm asking about
Okay.
right now.
I think that, yes, let's be involved in that.
So where would they be? What would the date be? Who wants to be involved? Yeah, we can push this up, push it off to November. I think that's good. Okay, so we do want them. Joe and I will decide on, once we know, we'll decide on where they go, and then we'll bring it back for another discussion about how we might get them decorated. Okay,
Yeah,
Very
I think
good.
we can come back next month with um that we got them or we approved them, that we have an idea of where and when. And I think we can show you the spots. But there will be no vote on the spots because we're saying we don't need to vote on the spots.
yes. Very good. Okay. Creek cleanup. Jack and Jesus.
Okay, hey, Jack. So, well, this was a great event. Let me just introduce you with that. So the Springs MAC organized a Larson's Park and Creek cleanup September the 23rd. Do you want to go one? Sure. Yeah.
Figure 1 displays a dumpster with things picked up, and figure 2 is also the same. But there was quite a lot of debris gathered in the box. I want to say that sorry, I haven't reviewed these slides. We had between like 30 to 40 volunteers come out. Things sort of wrapped up around 11:30, but generally a pretty solid turnout. You want to go to the next slide?
Can I ask a question? Did that all come from the creek, or did people bring things?
No, actually, the day was Costa Cleanup Day, and there were 2 other creek cleanups and parks. The Maxwell Park cleanup was organized by Homeless Action Sonoma, and the Agua Caliente Creek was organized by our fiscal sponsor, Sonoma Ecology Center. And they brought around 500 pounds of debris from their cleanup into our dumpster that we had in Larson's Park. But they had a lot more garbage that they were going to dispose at their dump. Yeah, but we gathered a lot of garbage from our Larson's Park.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think on the day there was, I think, 1 person who did a large item drop off, but the vast majority was stuff picked up from the nearby area.
Thank you.
So actually, can we go back? Yes. Yeah, so I want to say thank you to Recology for giving us the bin. I don't want to sound ungrateful, but I asked for a 30-yard trash bin, and they sent us a 20-yard. And I think that we could have collected way more garbage, or if we had a bigger bin. But I want to just be thankful for what we have. And okay, so Seth Dolinsky, so he gave away. He take the advantage of the creek cleanup to also give out compost and plant starters, and that was a great success.
And yeah, guess just a big thank you to everyone who participated. I know the Sonoma Mission Inn had a bunch of volunteers. I want to say about 20 folks from there came. Don't quote me on those numbers. I don't want to underrepresent. I wasn't counting. But yeah, it was really good to see the community coming out and doing doing like what they do best. And it was just a nice way to spend the morning by getting some stuff out of the creek that would otherwise end up in the ocean, because that's what the day was about, coastal cleanup day.
All right, thank you, everyone. who
I think that we're
participated.
not done yet.
Yeah,
Oh.
sorry, I
No, we're
apologize.
not done.
I opened. the
It's a
wrong one.
long, beautiful presentation with a lot of pictures, and I want to make sure that we. So I really want to. Yeah. So yeah. So that is how much garbage was collected. Thank you to our response to Sonoma Marine Ecology. Thank you so much. Thank you to our sponsors, Zero Waste Sonoma for donating the compost. Thank you to the Sonoma Valley Grange and the Sonoma who manages the Springs Community Garden for donating the plant starters. Thank you to Sonoma Ecology Center for all what they did for us. Thank you to Cali Pierce, Travis, and everybody who made that possible. Thank you to the Sonoma County Regional Parks, John Ryan, for getting us trash grabbers, garbage bags, and non-disposable gloves and buckets. We did not produce more garbage. Thank you so much for them. To them, thank you, the Fairmont Sonoma Mission Inn, for bringing hands and donating shirts, coffee, and donuts, and volunteers. And thank you for bringing people to make this happen. And yeah, thank you to our supervisor Sangorin, to the Springs MAC Council members. You are great. And thank you to the Springs community for helping us and making our amazing beloved park cleaner.
All right, Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, thank you. Emergency preparedness. Is there update on that?
Yeah, I can give a quick update. We have a meeting set up. Let me pull my calendar up. Thank you, because I have so many meetings, I can't remember when it is up. Thank you. So we have a meeting on the 18th with the superintendent to discuss the MOU for the is it a pod? What do we call it? The container.
It's a container, yeah.
The container with our supplies.
Connex.
Yeah, and so we'll discuss that, and then from there make plans to access it and do an inventory and make sure that it's well stocked and replace anything that we need to replace, and maybe organize it. I'm sure it's been sitting closed for a while, probably could use a good cleaning and organizing and restock. So that's where we're at. So we'll meet next week, and then next month we should probably be ready to set a day to go out and work on it.
All right, thank you. Logo competition. We had the logo competition closed. We had 5 entries. I think we have, so what we had talked about the process being, we want to acknowledge the 5. And we would like to narrow it down to, no, not working. Okay. We'd like to narrow it down to 2 to move forward to our community. So there's a $400 prize for the selected logo. We received again 5.
Karina, the one that you forwarded on the second, the attachment wasn't attached on mine. I don't know if maybe it was my email.
It wasn't, it has been really difficult for some reason. It's on here though.
Okay, because it didn't come through in the email. Just a heads up, there's been some like weird stuff where sometimes the attachments attach and sometimes they don't. And I can't tell if it's me or if it's.
No, it's, I Yeah, that was. Okay, thank you. Okay, here we go. This is option one. So it's black and white photos of historical buildings. There's 5 circles and then it says Springs Municipal Count. There's 4 circles surrounding the center one. I won't make any comments on it. This is the second one, vineyards with some water splashing, and it has our old logo in the corner. This is the third option. It looks like a banner, cactus with some flowers. It says Springs Mac. It looks like a valley or, mountainside, kind of what you might see in the valley with some blue sky. This is a little more modern version, kind of Mac Springs, and it spells out the Municipal Advisory Council at the bottom. And then this is the final option, which is the sun, hills. It appears to be a home. Blue Springs would be appears to be water, and it's the Springs Municipal Advisory Council. So our goal here tonight is to narrow it down to 2 and that we would then put out to the community. That's the process we decided, correct?
I believe we decided that the ad hoc would narrow it down.
Oh, the ad hoc would narrow it down to 2 and then we take it out to the community.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, all right, so our goal tonight was to present them to you so you could see them. If you have any comments or feedback, we'll take it. And then Joe, Celeste, and I will decide on which 2 to move forward to the community. Please.
And just so kind of just to help the community understand, like, what is our logo? What do we do with it? Right? Like, they're like, what do you do with your logo? So, right. Well, it goes on, our outreach materials. It would go like on our tablecloth or on a banner. So we would utilize it so that when people come to our outreach events, they can find us easily, know us, and it would go on any materials that we would distribute into the community. So, and I say that because we have, as we go through and we make our decision-making process, which I have no idea what that decision is because we haven't talked about it, but I just want people to know one of the things we consider is, representation of our community, and then also how easily would that logo go on a banner or go on printed materials and that kind of things in terms of the ease of it being visible. So those are just, as people wonder, like, what are you guys going to go talk about and what are you going to consider? Those are kind of the 2 main things that we'll be considering in the process.
Thank you for that. I think the ease with which it can be duplicated is one of our biggest concerns, or one of our biggest considerations.
Yeah, I'm sorry to add to that. It also needs to be able to be blown up and shrunk and still be able to see it. We said that in the description of the contest, was that they were high resolution images that could be grayscale or color and enlarged or shrunk and still be visible. So that's all the things that will go into that
Conversation. Any other comments from the council? Yes.
Legibility.
Yeah, thank you.
I
Jesus.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say that all of these logos are beautiful, and I know that there is a 400 prize for the winner, but I think that we should at least say, well, honor all the inputs and in some way recognize them for their time for spending on creating these beautiful logos. I don't know how, but I think that we should like thank them for their input.
Thanks, Jesus. We can do that in some way. I don't have the names of the artists, so I don't want to do that right now and get it wrong. So maybe at the next meeting, we could do that. Okay, social media and outreach. We're going to add Jack to social media and outreach to help out Celeste and Maite. So that'll help quite a bit. Yeah, that's our update on social media and outreach. I'll take public comment on any of the reports. All right, seeing none. Oh, Jesus.
Yes, thank you. Well,
All right. Okay, very good. Okay. Karina, I'm a little confused. Am I reading the SVCAC update as the Fremont Ranch is? You are. Got it. Okay, so can you give us the SVCAC update, Karina? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair Turi. Real quick, the SVCAC meeting happened a couple weeks ago. They heard the project on the Fremont Ranch. This is a project they heard 5 years ago and recommended not to approve at that time. So the developer came back and paid attention to the suggestions that the SVCAC had for them, and they made some improvements. So that night, the commission did approve to recommend with a couple of concerns, specifically with water and traffic. SVCAC continues to have conversations on ways they can increase community engagement. And I do want to highlight that they do look to the Springs MAC and everything that you do in the community, and they're trying to mirror what you do for outreach. As much as you feel like there's improvement here, you're doing a great job in the community. So I just wanted to throw that in there. They also heard an update from Caitlin wearing her Sonoma Valley Collaborative hat about a potential collaboration between the collaborative and the SVCAC to hone Sonoma Valley General Plan input. And they had a presentation on fire service consolidation, explaining reasons, impacts, and costs. Thank you. That is the update from SVCAC.
Thank you. Any comment, public or otherwise? Mr. Roberts.
Hi, Randy Roberts, El Dorado again. I was at the meeting, and you might want to know that one of the main concerns was the egress and exit onto the main highway, Highway 121 there. And they were suggesting that they have an alternate off of Napa Road instead because of the speed of the traffic. And if they have large events with a lot of cars, it could create a very hazardous situation. They said they would take it into consideration, but there was no real definitive as to whether they would put an entrance exit off of Napa Road, which I thought would have been a lot better personally than what they had proposed. Hopefully they will take that into consideration and seriously at least put an exit there for people who need to go to Napa, because making a left out of that area onto 121 before that signal, it looks pretty dangerous to me.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Any comments from council? Okay, seeing none, close the item. Future agenda items. I think I'd like to hear from Share Housing that I just heard about today. And then I'd like us to consider a study session. Anything else?
yes. Members, the volunteers that attended the park and creek cleanup, we're very excited that that we should do it again twice a year. They are very willing to help. And I know we all know that the Larson's Park is getting remodel. So maybe perhaps we can do another park and creek cleanup before it gets remodeled, so that we can. And then so I don't know when will that be, but that is also something that we can talk and discuss in the future. And also I would like to see if we can invite this new watchdog, or I don't know what it's called, new group that is rising called Grow Smart. And they're opposing development on Sonoma to developing plans. And I would just like to hear what they want to say.
Grow Smart.
Grow Smart. Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Anything else from council?
Yeah, probably not next month, but as we sort of plan
Yeah,
out a few months.
Yeah.
Hear from the county an update on just what we're looking at for timeline for Larson Park, and what that's going to look like, and has the final plans been completed, or are they still adjusting those? It would be good to just get an update. I don't know, maybe in December or January.
Okay, thank you. Jack.
As stated earlier, potentially getting some, is it Socopi, to ask questions about local street stuff, with road safety and pedestrian safety.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Anything from the public? Future agenda items?
Through the chair, just want to list that pending for November 8th, you have a Zero Waste Sonoma presentation coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Discussion on your annual report, believe it or not, it's that time again.
Mm-hmm.
And then for December, Positive Image LGBTQ Connect. I also heard from Supervisor Gorin suggesting today that you hear presentations from Human Services Department as well as Health Services. Presentation on Donald Gap and Socopi on speed traffic, speed bumps and stop signs, road safety and preparedness. And I think I caught everything else that you guys just said.
Okay, that's a lot. Yep. So we'll see how we can space it out. We're trying to put them thematically so they make sense, but that doesn't always happen either. So we'll do our best. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us this evening. It was a good conversation. I appreciate the council very much. So thank you all. And thanks to Karina, thanks to our interpretation services, Lynn Marie, thank you. Thanks to KSVY and Sonoma County District 1. Did you want to say something? Okay. And all the other folks who helped make this happen. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Good night, everyone. No.